understood here tonight. This is Steeler country. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
So let's go ahead and get into our next set of topics right here. Speaking of which, the Athletics, Ed Bouchette right now, Hall of Famer for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's in the Hall of Fame, and also has been a long-time insider and reporter covering the Steelers since the mid-'80s. He was talking with Andrew Filipponi of 93.7 The Fan, and right now, in regards to one Steelers cornerback, right now, he doesn't believe that they'll be able to spend the extra leftover $6 million from DeCastro getting cut on available free agents, including former Steelers quarterback Steve Nelson. And if that's going to be the case, I mean, where would that money go to? I mean, is it going to be possible that we're going to be seeing a TJ Watt signing for this time? I mean, it is very rare that we do see the Steelers make any kinds of signs to maintain some of their own around this time period. I mean, we have seen deals where, I mean, one of the most recent ones I can think of in recent memory, of course, was Cam Hayward, which was on Labor Day when they signed him up for his deal right now. Because Cam Hayward right now on the Steelers, he has the fifth most money in terms like the cap number. This year is at about over $7.4 million as far as like the cap number. And when you truly look at it too, I mean, he's making the fifth highest money. Number one you got up there is Ben Roethlisberger, $25.9 million. Joe Hayden is the second guy at over $15.5 million. And then you got Stephon Tuitt at $14.944075 million, and TJ Watt at over $10 million. And remember, I got like TJ Watt. I mean, this contract's going to be definitely very interesting. How they're going to get creative, how they're going to get a guy who should have been a Defensive Player of the Year, arguably for either of the last two seasons. I mean, this past season was his biggest opportunity to wrap that up. It got snatched away by Aaron Donald. I have no arguments with that. I mean, TJ Watt, I mean, for the most part, when you continue to look at this guy right now, as he continues to stick around, I mean, he continues to be a key cornerstone piece for this team you need to have on here. And I don't know if it's just right now where it's just going back to the drawing board, how much talks have there been. I mean, the more this thing continues to stretch, I definitely tend to lean a close ear on this. And I will say this. I think, I mean, I'm not really too surprised that there has been no signing. But I can definitely understand why too. And when you got a guy like TJ Watt, I mean, for the most part, on here, who basically has his fifth-year option being taken care of, over $10 million right now. And I just I'm really interested to see what's going to happen here. For the most part. And I would be real surprised right now if they do something by training camp. Now, remember, just to remind everybody, for Steelers training camp, for the first time in history, there will be a unified start for training camp. 29 franchises, including the Steelers, to kick off their training camps on Tuesday, July 27th. So we are right now about 3 weeks away at that point. And we'll find out anything regarding that. I'm trying to find out some more information as we dig along on here. And you look at it. But I mean, listen, I think right now, this has got to be the most obvious move they're looking at right now. I mean, you pretty much got everything set up in place right now. And I think the Steelers have done a phenomenal job right now. I mean, you found hopefully your guy in your running game. Tweak up the offensive line a little bit, but it's gonna be new kids on the block. Basically, I mean, to try and protect that and open up some holes in the running game. And Watt right now, in regards, he just wants to be focusing on the 2021 season, which I'm glad right now. I'm glad he's not being. I mean, let's be honest. When you're being taken care of with your rookie deal still, and your fifth-year option, and you look at everything going on. I mean, it's understandable, and I commend him. And here's what he's saying right now as far as being prepared for this season. He says, I just want to be the best player possible I can be, not just for myself, but the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to make splash plays. Big thing for me is noticing the plays I didn't make this year, wishing I could have converted some forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, sacks, tackles for a loss. There is a lot of good from last year, but there is a lot of stuff I continue to improve on. This is why I love this game so much. You are never at your calling. So there you have it right there. I mean, I like the attitude. Yeah, and to be honest with you, too, I like this a lot better. And I'm sorry for calling guys out, but this is where I get frustrated with a guy like Le'Veon Bell. And I understand it's business, so and it's a totally different position. But you gotta understand something here. And I realize you're trying to protect your body, preserve your career a little bit longer. You want to make sure you have a little bit of security. But I have the problem where you're distancing from your teammates. And I will continue to criticize the guy and his agent, who's a complete moron in my opinion, for as they sat down for most of the season, waited to the deadline to see if they were going to sign the franchise tag or not, but they found some new loopholes in the CBA at the time, the previous one, that they're going to hold out for the remainder of the season. Missing a whole season and not only practicing with your teammates, I just tend to feel when you do stuff like that, you do kind of risk causing friction in the locker room. And this is why I love about TJ Watt. I'm not saying we need yes men necessarily per se, but this is what you got to do. I mean, for the most part, but you need someone you can count on. It's good to get a rhythm. And I mean, and this year, I mean, with COVID restrictions being lifted, unfortunately, I mean, no training camp at Latrobe. But if there's any plans to be announced at either Heinz Field or Rooney Complex, I mean, more than likely we'll be able to see something. But I just like the dedication of this guy. Bottom line, period. And so Steven Nelson right now, I mean, you're going with a guy and Cam Sutton, basically. I mean, for the most part, who was drafted back in 2017. It was a third-round pick, 94th overall. And, of course, Steven Nelson was a cap casualty for this season. I mean, when you looked at everything with the salary cap. So, if anything, I have to say right now, yeah, you know what? At this point, I'd rather just sign T.J. Watt if they're able to do anything. Because signing back Steven Nelson, you're going to have to chip into that money, force some extra moves. Not saying that Kevin Colbert and Omar Khan can't think of anything creatively, especially Omar. But I mean, you're already like right here. Now it's just trying to get more creative. I mean, pretty much laid all your cards on the table with TJ. And I'm not sure if Steven Nelson, I mean, given his performance, is going to like the idea of being sub packages. I think if anything, you could probably run the risk if you bring back a Steve Nelson, probably be like a James Harrison situation where I get a little bit concerned with. I mean, yeah. I mean, you got a guy out there still looking for a job. I mentioned the Eagles as one of the teams last week, and including the Bills, the Bears, even the Bengals in the division. But if I were to go somewhere, I mean, for Steve Nelson, if it's not with the Steelers, I'd say someone like the Chicago Bears. And like I said, the Chicago Bears need someone on that defense that can help create turnovers. I mean, 3 years ago when they made the playoffs, I mean, aside from this past season, that's what helped their season magnificently. This year, the Bears were -4 in turnover ratio. And I think it would make sense for a guy like Steve Nelson when you got a good quarterback and Justin Fields, a defensive offensive line, a lot of excitement and hype going up into their season, thinking they may have found their man under center. I will continue to think about that and leave it at that thought and process. I'm just not sure. I mean, I would like the idea for depth, but if Steve Nelson does come back, I would predict it'll probably be somewhere when teams are making their 53-man rosters together, or he's out there still available during the season. You could sign him in-house. You could sign him right there, maybe for a waiver. I have no idea. And to be honest, it's a head scratcher. He isn't signed with anybody yet. Because Steven Nelson, I think, could definitely make an immediate impact with somebody. And if he does go somewhere, I hope it is outside the AFC, and especially outside AFC North more in particular. I'd like to hear your thoughts right now. Do you agree or disagree with Ed Bouchette's comments right now with the remaining $6 million that was picked up from releasing David DeCastro, that they're not going to sign on any more pending free agents, including Steven Nelson? And he also agreed with my thought that this money will at some point go to TJ Watt. We're live right here on the Man of Steel podcast. Once again, you guys can follow me on Twitter for the Man of Steel podcast at Man of Steel CGR, and on Instagram at Man of Steel Nation.